Alright, with Eagles minicamp in the rearview, I figured it was time to post an updated 53-man roster projection. And judging by multiple takeaways from player performances, there's a few difficult decisions. Like one guy who's hurting his chances and another one who's vaulted his stock significantly. Plus the edge position is about to dominate more than you may be giving it credit for. So let's talk about why a 21-year streak is about to come to an end, debate which roster moves make sense, and everything else around the birds. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? So like I mentioned, we're going to get into this 53-man roster projection 2.0 because a couple of different things have shifted since OTAs and minicamp took place. But before we get there, reminder, it's been 21 years since the NFC East had a repeat champion, which seems absolutely ridiculous to think that that's one of the longest running streaks in the league. However, it feels like every offseason we're asking, will this finally be the year the record will be broken? And considering the Philly are the favorites to win the Super Bowl, NFL.com has the Birds predicted to finally win the division back-to-back for the first time since 2004. Due to the fact that the offense is returning 10 of 11 starters, along with the belief that even with some of the key losses on defense, Vic Fangio can get the most out of the new guys stepping up. Heck, linebacker Zack Baun said earlier this offseason that he felt like the squad was miles ahead from where they were at this point last year. So positive signs all around. Granted, I know the schedule is anything but a cakewalk, but if I had to predict, I would say the Eagles finally break that streak. And also, just to put some more positive vibes out there, make sure to drop a like on this video, make sure to subscribe, because when the Eagles win the NFC East, I'm going to give away 2 playoff tickets to 1 lucky subscriber on the channel. I'm curious though, what do you think is going to be the most difficult part of trying to break that streak? Personally, I'm pretty dang confident that it won't have to do with the lack of chemistry or shaky morale like we saw following the 2023 Super Bowl appearance. Because for one, there's still a lot of guys who went through that and recognize the importance of sticking together. And two, the entire team, including Nick Sirianni, have matured and shown the ability to evolve for the betterment of the team. Something newcomer guard Kendall Lamb has really taken note of since joining the Eagles earlier this offseason, saying he understands how this unit has been so successful because players are never late, never toxic, and after every practice, the room spends 15 minutes sharing personal struggles to stay mentally sharp and make sure everyone's okay. Which personally is something I think is dope, and also Lamb ended up sharing that Miami, for the record, did not do that when he was there. Look, the fact that you got an 11-year vet who's played on 5 different teams during that span saying that really speaks for itself. I mean, he knows dysfunction and he knows good teams in the league, with even more players echoing the same thing inside the building. So say what you will about Sirianni, but the connected family approach has really paid dividends for how close this team has gotten. Of course, the difficulty, or one of the many difficulties from that, is figuring out how many of the guys from the 90-man roster make the 53-man roster. And in honor of Howie Roseman recently celebrating his 50th birthday, I figured I'd update my projections for the team following their minicamp performances. So here we go, let me know what you think, give me your honest thoughts, and what you might change in the comments. First, we'll start with quarterback, albeit no change since the last 53-man roster projection, where I'm sticking with Jalen Hurts, Tanner McKee, and Kyle McCord. Although one thing has changed since then, that QB1's been busy and released his own children's book entitled Better Than a Touchdown. For the record, Jalen said that was always a dream of his to do that, with the book focusing on lessons learned from his past and to help kids be resilient and believe in themselves. FYI, in case you'd like a copy, I got a link in the description that you can check out, or who knows, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because on the next giveaway, we may throw that in too. Alright, back to the quarterback battle though, the whole Kyle McCord and Dorian Thompson-Robinson competition isn't really even that close, with beat writer Jimmy Kempski noticing that McCord got off to a strong start in each practice with several throws over the middle. Plus, just the way the rook carries himself is impressive to see. And add in very little reps and opportunities from DTR, and it's very clear who the QB3 will end up being, which is kind of the general consensus according to multiple reports about the RB2 position as well. Of course, my guys I'm going with for the running back and fullback positions are the same as the last video: Saquon Barkley, Will Shipley, AJ Dillon, and fullback Ben Van Sumeren. Positive signs that BVS was out there getting reps throughout OTAs, and he's going to, without question, have a significant role. However, AJ Dillon continues to be a question mark for Kempski, and even Bleeding Green Nation weren't putting it down as a lock for Dillon to make the roster. Here's where I'm at though. We know that Philly is going to stay committed to the ground game. And let's not forget what history says about a back's effectiveness coming off the type of season Saquon Barkley just had. Now, I'm not saying Saquon couldn't buck that trend, but I'd much rather have some extra depth there in case of an injury or simply to give 26 more of a breather. By the way, going back to the RB2 comment, Will Shipley was heavily involved in the passing game throughout camp, and I'd expect him to have a bigger role than Kenny Gainwell did. I mean, honestly, the only area I could see Dillon vaulting Shipley is if Ship struggles in pass blocking situations. because regardless of which side you're on, that's an area you don't have much concern when it comes to with Dillon. Anyway, next up are the receivers, and the top three are automatic. AJ Brown, the best receiver in football against single coverage according to just about every single metric you can think of. Devontae Smith, who was the highest graded receiver on crossing routes last season. And Jahan Dotson, a guy that Andrew DeCecco believes will have more responsibilities than he did last season. Not gonna lie, I agree with that notion, but also this is the spot where it gets difficult to decide on who and how many receivers to take. Yet personally, I'm going to take AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, Avery Williams, Danny Gray, and Terrace Marshall. I know that's cutting Johnny Wilson and Ainias Smith, which the odds say that at least one of them will make the roster. Although seeing that Johnny missed some of OTAs and struggled with drops while others have made lasting impressions, mainly Gray and Marshall, for now I'm going to have to roll with them and then wait to see if Wilson and Smith can prove a little bit more at camp. But I get it. I know there's going to be some disagreements to that one, so let me know your thoughts in the comments, what you would change differently, who are you taking for your wide receivers. Again, I really like Wilson's game, especially as a run blocker, so maybe that keeps him here just based on that. Yet when Danny Gray is getting praise from several different defensive players and then Terrace Marshall gets a shout out from QB1 while standing out at minicamp, it's hard to bet against them in late June. Still, you're right, long way to go, anything can happen, and at least, it's a good problem to have. We have plenty of depth. Now, next up at tight end, I'm taking three guys and sticking with my original prediction. Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra, and Kylen Granson. Look, Goedert and Calcaterra are locked, so not a decision there. But when it comes to the third tight end, I keep thinking about making sure they can block. No offense, yet Calcaterra's weaknesses there make me put blocking above anything else for that third guy. Of course, I know several of you messaged on the last one about Harrison Bryant. However, Granson being the 9th best blocking tight end in the league last year is more than enough for me to give him the edge. Having said that, Andrew DeCecco revealed that Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra, EJ Jenkins, and Nick Muse are all attending the tight end university this week. So I don't know, maybe there should be more thought on that towards Jenkins and Muse. Honestly, if you're looking for a sneaky dark horse at that position, I would probably say Muse because several different beat writers said he was making some ridiculous plays in the offensive game plan. Still, though, I don't know necessarily about the blocking ability and probably a long shot, but, worth keeping an eye on. Anyway, let's move on to the big fellas and pick 10 of them to make the roster. After all, both Howie Roseman and Jeff Stoutland have said several times you can't really have enough O-linemen. So for me, I'll take Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, and Lane Johnson for the obvious starters. Reminder, we got even more confirmation that Tyler Steen pretty much has the right guard spot on lockdown due to hardly anyone else taking reps, and Kenyon Green only being on the left side at OTAs. However, for the 5 backups, I'll still take Green as the swing guard along with Kendall Lamb as the swing tackle and Drew Kendall as the backup center. Now all the backup spots are important, but especially the swing tackle one. Heck, we saw multiple times last season how Fred Johnson was tasked with protecting Jalen. But this year it should be even better if the replacements are called into action. After all, Kendall Lamb ranked first among tackles with 0 sacks allowed and ranked 10th among tackles with a pass blocking grade of 83.1. Of course, that still does leave us with 2 spots remaining, meaning rookie tackle Miles Hinton also gets in along with Matt Pryor grabbing that final 10th spot. For the record, yes, that means Trevor Keegan is cut. I did that because at the moment, Matt Pryor was getting all the second team reps behind Tyler Steen, so we could debate about this. Is it Matt Pryor? Is it Kenyon Green? I just can't see them trading away C.J. Gardner-Johnson and then cutting Kenyon Green, so I think he stays, and then Matt Pryor slightly edges out Trevor Keegan. I should point out that Zach Berman did note that Keegan was getting some snaps at center, albeit the negative there is that even Brett Toth was still ahead of Keegan for those reps behind Drew Kendall. And then also for those wondering about rookie Cameron Williams, I'm sticking with Anthony DeBona's strategy of employing the phantom IR injury designation so that Howie can keep him around as a long-term project for Stout. All right, we're halfway, 26 of the 52 guys, but time to move over to Fangio's defense. And we're taking 6 edge rushers, Nolan Smith, Jalyx Hunt, Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche, rookie Antoine Powell-Ryland, and Patrick Johnson. Again, I know some people are not 100% with this group, or at the very least thinking that we need to add a veteran presence there, but seeing the work Jalyx Hunt is putting in, that dude is just different. Someone John McMullen is compared to BG for his energy and attacking things full speed. I mean, let's face it, some guys just have the passion for the game and enjoy playing football, and Hunter's energy is infectious. So combine that with Nolan Smith vibes, and y'all already know I was hyped for this edge play. However, don't take my word for it. There's a reason these dudes get better every single practice.
When you are a rookie learning a position and you're going against Lane Johnson and you don't even get within 4 yards of the quarterback every rep, you got to figure something out. So just being able to watch back reps and then ask him. Lane Johnson is a huge a huge guy of just, he'll tell you, hey, try this next time, do this, because I'm thinking this. Jordan's the same way, and I go back to what I said earlier. There's great leaders on the team, so just to be able to ask questions, it just bumps up everything and it tells you exactly what you need to focus on.
Going against Lane Johnson, he's the best offensive tackle in the league, hands down. And I wouldn't be half of the rusher I am today without Lane. And then the other half of my rushes goes to Mulata. Like going on the other side, changing it up, and talking to those guys after each pass rush rep. And then I started to learn a lot about pass rushes when we started doing those joint practices. And then Lane will come on our side and say, hey, Nolan, look at this, 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 and this.
A tackle doesn't want to tell you how to beat them.
That's like, talked about connecting and making each other better. That's what it does. It makes us better.
But like when, Smitty talked about it with Slay. When him and Slay, he started talking about him at the top of his routes and stuff like that. That's really what pass rushing is. I run the same route tree and I'm trying to make everything look the same and everything, I'm giving him a presentation, but I'm actually trying to do this. Or I'm making him think this, so I'm actually trying to do that.
I don't know what to tell you. If you don't believe in the Eagles' edges by now, they're going to dominate. Plus, you got Ojulari with that Philly dog connection, Uche being named by Lane Johnson as the underrated player to watch out for, and then APR flashing his speed and pass rush ability at OTAs. Heck, I didn't even get into the interior defensive line yet, but as we all know, you play with Jalen Carter and you're going to get plenty of one-on-one opportunities. Speaking of which, for the defensive tackle spot, I'll take 5 guys in Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ajomo, rookie Ty Robinson, and Thomas Booker. Honestly, the first 4 guys that I mentioned feel like locks, but there's a world where I could see Gabe Hall or Byron Young moving up to knock off Booker. So stay tuned for that one, and also don't sleep on the linebacker spot. For this exercise, I'll go with 4 All-Pro Zack Baun, rookie Jihaad Campbell, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and rookie Smael Mondon. Again, for the record, I'm not forgetting about Nakobe Dean. I said this on the last one, but with his injury, the timetables that we're hearing from Nick Sirianni, Fangio's comments, it seems very likely he'll start out on the PUP list. Plus, who knows, Campbell may not even be completely right or have enough time to get acclimated, leaving Jeremiah Trotter Jr. to start next to Baun. Although, just going to warn you about Smael Mondon because his athleticism garnered lots of attention following OTAs, with a rookie predicted to be a strong special teams player at the very least. And he absolutely understands that it's never a bad thing to get noticed that way.
Special teams like the way I got on the field at Georgia, and then I would have stayed on there. They would have kept me on there. So special teams is like, I feel like it's a lot of guys' intro, and then, so I kind of grew a big love for special teams at UGA. And then as far as like a favorite unit, I'd probably say the most fun I had while playing was kickoff.
I've said this before on some live streams, but yes, I absolutely think that dude's going to make some plays on special teams, so cannot wait to see him there. But time to move on to the corners. Kelee Ringo, no doubt in my mind, is cornerback 2. With a Philly voice sharing that Ringo just physically looks the part of a starting NFL outside cornerback, while admitting that he's also had an impressive spring getting hands on a lot of passes and sticking with receivers deep down the field. So all things considered, barring any sort of surprising trade, the cornerback 2 spot is his to lose. But for me, give me 6 cornerbacks: Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Kelee Ringo, Adoree Jackson, rookie Mac McWilliams, and yes, Eli Ricks for now. But I'm telling you what, this dude is one of the last guys on the roster at this moment, so he's absolutely going to have to make some moves at training camp if he wants to make the roster. Because I've also only got 3 safeties at the moment, but that will for sure change if Justin Simmons gets signed. For the record, those current safeties are Reed Blankenship, Andrew Mukuba, and Sidney Brown. Granted, I should note that Brown's stock has moved down with him splitting time with Mukuba and even Andre Sam getting significant first-team reps. Oh yeah, and that's also not to mention Fangio bringing up the idea of DeJean potentially playing some safety in the base defense. Which is why I'd say overall, the biggest question mark for Fangio's squad out there is probably safety for me. Anyway, that leaves 3 more openings for the special teams in kicker Jake Elliott, punter Braden Mann, who is entering a contract season, and new long snapper Charlie Hewlett, who for the record is crazily enough just the 3rd Eagles full-time long snapper since 2006. Yeah, I kind of had to go back and think about that one. It makes some sense, but I was like, dang, since 2006, there's only been 3 of those. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts on that, the full 53-man roster projection. What did you like? What did you not like? What am I missing? Also, as always, make sure to drop a like on this video, make sure to subscribe, turn the notifications on, got some really exciting collabs planned. Until next time, this has been the Philly Special.